Hey, everybody, welcome back to the 16th episode of Taps and Patience. I am AJ of Design the Everything, and I am here with Harrison of Precision Ingenuity. Hey, Harrison, how you doing?
No, I'm doing good. How are you doing this evening?
Still a little bit sick, but much better than I was.
Yeah, well, whatever you had, it must have made its way this way because I caught a little bit something earlier this week, although appear to be on the back end of it, so hopefully I'm doing a lot better now.
So I do have an update on what I have, and it appears to be bronchitis. It
Oh,
has not been confirmed with like any lab tests or anything, but um, from talking to doctor, that appears to be what it is.
oh, that's no fun.
Fortunately,
Yeah,
the treatment for bronchitis is basically just wait and drink tea and take some Advil. Like,
yeah. I've had what would amount to be the common cold or typical flu season stuff: sore throat, runny nose, coughing, that kind of stuff.
yeah,
Headache.
you were probably around family, I imagine, groups of people bringing
Hmm.
in new
Yeah,
new diseases from afar.
something like that. So.
Anyway, so how's your year been? This year's almost over.
I was gonna say this is our first full year, and it's been awesome, and it's also leading into a scary point in the business. So start out with the awesome. Um, we started out with the business for the first half or a little over half of the year. It felt kind of aimless. Um, we did work. A lot of it was Xometry, and some of it was for some local people, some design work. Um, and then towards the second half, the ball really started rolling and we're making a lot more connections, and I feel like we're turning into an actual business, which is awesome. But we're about to that point where I had about a year's worth of personal savings saved up,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm about to the end of my rope on that. So the business, we're about to the point where the business needs to put up or shut up, because if we don't start making enough to start bringing money home, it's going to make things very difficult in the near future. So there's a lot of potential on the horizon. I've talked a lot about some bigger deals that could happen, but none of them have happened yet. And
Yep.
so right now, all I have is a bag full of promises, um, that I'm hoping that I can capture, so I can keep this ride going. Because it's honestly been the most fun and the best investment and personal investment that I've ever had in my entire life. Um, getting a little bit personal. Um, my shop is in my dad's shop right now, so I've taken over part of his garage, and we kind of have like I call it the family compound. It's my dad, my grandparents on my mom and dad's side, and my uncle all live on the same driveway. And so I've gotten to get really close with one of my grandpa on my dad's side, and this time has been invaluable in the fact that he's getting up there in years, and he's probably not going to make it another 5, 10, 15 years. Um, I think he's getting close to the 90s range up there. So he comes down. He started his own business a long time ago, and he sold out a couple years ago. Um, and so he loves coming down and checking up on us boys and seeing how me and my cousin and seeing how we're doing. And we got a rocking chair for him that we got just for him, so he could come down and sit and talk to us while we work and kind of see how we're doing. Um, and that's the kind of stuff that makes me so happy to have been able to do this. And I know I'm kind of talking like it's done, and it's not done, but it's it's a precarious point that we're at right now, and I'm really hoping that we can pull through.
Yep. And I mean, I think it's probably a pretty common stage for all new businesses. I know looking forwards at some point I'm going to hit the same place where like I know how much money I have left in the bank and I know how much I'm spending and I
Mm-hmm.
know how much Design the Everything is bringing in, and right now if everything keeps up at the same rate, like I'm going to run out of money before I'm profitable. So
Mm-hmm.
I've got to, keep growing. But
Yep.
it sounds like it sounds like you guys are just starting to get some really good traction right now, and
Yeah.
you just need a little bit longer.
Yeah, and that's what I keep telling my cousin. It's like we have a lot of traction that we're starting to get, and on the gun side of stuff, we need to start selling some guns. We bought several guns that we need to turn around and sell. And like I was doing some mental math the other day, and we have several grand that we've invested in different things that we haven't seen paybacks from, and we also have several big jobs that we've spent money up front on that we haven't seen paybacks on. And if everything was to pay out today, if I could magically wave a wand and say, hey, everything that we have outstanding that could sell and that could do all this stuff and it could just magically sell, or magically we could get our money back or whatever, we'd be doing actually really, really well.
Hmm.
I feel like. I mean, we'd have enough money for a couple months, I feel like. Um, but that's not how business works. You have to have working capital, and I feel like we've been slowly filling up that working capital reserve to the point where if we can just push it a little bit further, we can start having some actual cash on hand that we can use to pay ourselves some percentage of. um, and that's something that I would like to sit down and actually like go through all the numbers for the year at some point and figure
Hmm.
out what did we spend, what was worth spending money on. You know, I was thinking about this the other day. Our Kickstarter campaign where we did those the deck defenders.
Hmm.
Um, we have a lot of money tied up in those things, and they haven't really paid back nearly what they should have. Now, it's been a great education. We've learned a lot from it, and I'm not sure I would trade that experience for not doing it, but there's definitely better ways that money could have been spent, and we definitely held it too close to the chest and should have been sharing more of it along the way. I look at how your carabiners have gone. You have been extremely vocal about that um, project as you've been going through the challenges, and you have really good documentation, and people eat that up, and
Hmm.
that gets the word out and helps it sell. It's a form of advertising that we didn't really take advantage of through our whole process. Like, it would have been great to have shown us making the first prototype, and it would have been great to show the struggles of making our first fixture, of the challenges of getting stuff anodized, of actually documenting this stuff on a social media type platform. um, and I think we would have been a lot more successful. As well as we've never really sold any of our own stuff before, and we're just now starting to get some major traction on stuff like Etsy. And
Hmm.
so I don't know if I feel like if Etsy and a couple of these jobs were able to keep going at the pace that they've been going, we'll be fine. But I don't know, with the holiday season ending out and a bag full of promises, like I said, it'll be interesting to see how it actually plays out.
Have you started to see any dip in your Etsy sales after Christmas?
I mean, we're only a couple days after Christmas at this point, and we've still had a couple sales come in after Christmas. Um, like I think
That's
we had
good.
two. I think we had two sales today. Um, two or three sales today. Three sales today. So I mean, that's not nothing. That's still decent. Um, so I would say that we haven't seen a major drop off. Although it'll be interesting this weekend because most of our sales happen over the weekend. So it'll be
Hmm.
interesting from Friday to Monday next week how many sales we end up getting.
Yeah. I don't know if I've seen any since Christmas. Maybe I had one. I think I sold some key rings. Though to be fair, I haven't really been posting on Instagram much, and I definitely didn't over Christmas. So there's probably some lag in sales there because I haven't been, selling.
So, side question: um, do you pay attention to your growth on Instagram much?
No, not at all on Instagram. I've
Okay,
given up on Instagram basically. Like it's a fun place to share stories. I occasionally post. Um, YouTube is what I see as my social media moving forwards.
okay. Well, we oh wow, that's awesome. I hadn't checked it today, but we finally crossed 700 followers. But it
Woohoo!
feels like the last few days it has slowed down drastically in the last week. Um,
Yeah, that sounds right to me.
so, and I didn't know if that was the season or if there was something else that was going on with that.
I know for me, let's see, can I show my analytics on here? Um, but I know for me, I had one post that took off. I'm gonna do this off
Mm-hmm.
screen. And so like that got me a lot of followers and views. I clicked on the link from Instagram and the link doesn't work.
Nice.
I don't think I can show it here easily. Anyway, I had one post take off. It was the one where my Tormach dropped the touch probe, which I'm not sure we ever talked about.
Yeah.
And that is up to like 50,000 views or something like that, and 500 shares and 200 follows, which is pretty good. But other than that, I haven't been very active on Instagram. But you can see in my analytics, both Instagram, YouTube, and Etsy, as soon as Christmas hits, they all just taper off.
Okay. So the last 3 months, we've grown 35% on Instagram,
That's awesome.
which is amazing. And that's what makes me feel like the last 7 days have been really slow because we've been averaging like 2 to 3% a week, and I'm at like 0.1% for the last week. So I didn't know if that was just the season or if there was something going on, and maybe I'm becoming hyper focused on Instagram to some extent because I've been seeing massive growth in it, and I want to get our name out there as much as I can. So
Yeah, I mean it's everywhere. Here's my my YouTube analytics, which is they're a little bit flat anyway because I haven't been posting videos. But if you go to revenue and you look at the RPM, which is the amount of money that you actually made over the over your last thousand, or let me rephrase that. It is the amount of money on average that you made over 1,000 views. And you can see like in the past it was really high, and then it kind of evened out a little bit. I think when I stopped doing the daily vlogs and I stopped posting as much. But then Friday, December 23rd, it just drops dramatically. And that's just because the advertisers know nobody's on the platform right now. So nobody is paying for ads.
Gotcha.
Here, can we... Well, zooming in doesn't really help very much, but...
Yeah, that makes sense. So...
This is a known thing, basically.
Yeah,
is that sales drop right after Christmas until like Valentine's Day, basically.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, hang on, I need to blow my nose a second.
Okay. I guess I have you guys all to myself while he's blowing his nose. Normally, it's me blowing my nose, and Harrison does a really good job of covering it like seamlessly so that you guys don't even notice, unless you're watching in the video and you can see me, snorting and sniffling. But I don't have the same skill with words that Harrison does. So I hope he's back now. So I have someone to talk to.
Oh, shoot. Bloody nose.
Oh, this is awkward.
Yeah, sorry. It's so cold here, and we had -4 degree weather.
Yep.
And that made it so cold that we actually did not work on Friday. Now I have this wonderful. Those who are watching my video, I apologize.
This is just a treat for people in video.
Yeah. But the shop got so cold, and actually when we came in and started working we actually worked a little on Monday and Tuesday this week. The lathe actually started making a funny noise because it was so cold, and we had to do multiple warm-up cycles to get it sounding halfway decent again.
Yeah, so. we had some really extreme cold for a while too, which is a whole non-machining story in itself there. But where we are, we're in the middle of fields, and so for a while we had wind chills of -40 degrees. Which is naturally when I had to go out and check on something in my parents' cabin, and then got stuck in the snowdrift on my way back and had to dig dig myself out of the snowdrift with a piece of tile that I had in my car because of Servent Solutions. So
Nice.
But I survived. I was dressed for the cold, thankfully. Like I had all the winter gear that you would need on, so I was fine. But
That's
I was
good.
stuck in the snowbank for an hour,
Oh,
or
that's
a
not
snow
good.
drift, I should say.
Yeah. Now, Make 100.
Yes.
How's that coming?
You mean the Kickstarter I'm supposed to launch in 3 days and I haven't started yet?
Yes.
In any way? Needless to say, it's not launching in 3 days. I just haven't been able to get to it. This last Kickstarter is still hanging over my head. I need to get everything shipped, which will be happening for 100% on Friday. So,
there's still a few that you haven't shipped yet?
yes. Before Christmas, I was left with everybody who ordered a certain style of pry bar. There was 2 styles of pry bar. One I added in the middle of the campaign, and so I didn't have any of those like machined and ready to go. And then I broke a slitting saw, and then yada yada yada. And the other one was people who ordered the key slings, which is the wristlets, because we ordered the elastic and then the wrong size elastic came in for those.
Oh, fun.
And we had to get more elastic in, and that elastic showed up like basically on Christmas. So my wife is going to be sewing those probably tomorrow or so. And then my graphic designer buddy Scott is coming in on Friday, and we're going to wrap up all the shipping.
Yeah. Which I got mine the day before Christmas, my keychain, and I really like it. Turned out really good. Your powder coating isn't nearly as thick as some of the other ones I've seen.
On my carabiners or in general?
Just in general. Powder coating in general. Because like that's been my number one concern with powder coating. Is I took some stuff to get powder coated, and it added, almost a 16th inch to the parts. It was crazy. And that was to a local powder coating shop.
So that is actually something that I am very much struggling with on these. And I've had to rework just like a ton of carabiners. In fact, I spent all day today doing rework on powder coating from carabiners that I powder coated too thickly. And the problem that I have is that there's what's called the Faraday effect, as in Faraday cage, which is that if you have a sharp corner, the powder will be repelled from it. And my carabiners are basically entirely sharp corners. I was hoping that the tumbling would round those over a little bit more than it did. And it's only an issue on some of the colors. I think some of them are more transparent than others, specifically the yellow and the manta green. There's a very fine line between the carabiner being completely coated and then the carabiner being a glob of powder coat.
Gotcha.
And so I've reworked. I stripped the powder off of about probably 60 carabiners today with a chemical stripper, because we found out heat just makes carabiners not into carabiners. And so that chemical stripper didn't work quite like I wanted it to. And so it was kind of a whole big ordeal. It got the powder off of the carabiners really easily. Like they shriveled up like a snake shedding its skin. But the stripper that I ordered, I expected it to be like, basically the consistency of water or acetone, but it's like a thick gloop, like consistency of like a pudding. And like you can't get it off of the carabiners easily. So like I removed the coating, but then getting the gloop off of the carabiners has been a major challenge. And it's kind of a nasty chemical, so I don't want to just like use the air gun on my air compressor to blow them off, because I'm afraid where that goop is going to get. I would hate to like accidentally spray my my brother's Ford Mustang, which is hanging out of my shop.
Yeah, that would not be good.
Yeah, that'd be bad. Good. I don't want to strip the paint off of that.
What year
is his Mustang? Oh, I don't know. It's not a super old one. It's maybe like a 05 or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Um, but I told him he could store it in here and put a new engine because it's warm in here and cold outside.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so I've been stripping this powder off of the carabiners, and eventually I just like got some of those big like dish gloves and went in. I had it all in a box, and I was like
Mm-hmm.
digging through the box and like trying to bang the pudding off of the carabiners, trying to keep as much of it as I could because it was
Mm.
also like $100 a gallon. So I want
Yeah.
to keep this stuff as long as I can. So I
Can you
banged as
dilute
much
it?
of. So it is water based, but the water does not seem to break it down.
Okay.
It stays fairly puddingy. Um,
The next question is, do you have an ultrasonic cleaner?
I do have an ultrasonic cleaner, which also hasn't done as much as I would like.
So,
Um,
so I would not fill the ultrasonic cleaner with this solution, but what I have seen other people do is they'll take a plastic bag and
mhm.
they'll fill it full of the solution, and then they'll stick that in the water, and then the water will go through. It'll go through the water and into through the plastic bag and into your solution without actually having to dump it into the ultrasonic cleaner itself. And then you
Yes.
could have a couple carabiners in there, maybe. I don't know.
Oh,
I don't
just
know.
dumping all the carabiners into a box of the solution worked great. Like I have a
Oh, it
plastic
did?
tote that I dedicated. Yeah, it was fine there.
Oh,
The
okay.
problem was getting the gloop off of the carabiners so that I could then go
Gotcha.
down farther down the process.
Gotcha.
And part of my problem is also because I don't have like drainage at my shop, so I
Now,
can't just throw a ton of water at the problem because I have to empty out a 5 gallon bucket every time that fills up. Um,
does the as the goop is doing its thing, does it leave particles of the powder coat in the goop? I'm assuming.
so this is kind of one of the things that took a lot of work. It sheds the powder coating like a snake skin,
Okay.
and
Can
the
you pick
snake
it out of the
skin
goop?
stays around the carabiner. So there's no powder coat really left in the goop.
Okay.
Um, but now all of the carabiners have these little snake skins around them that you have to go through and peel off one by one, and parts of it like breaks off and gets stuck in the holes. And um,
Could you
what
retumble them to get it off?
potentially.
Okay.
I tried sandblasting it, and that kind of worked, but it left those snake skins in the sand of my
Mm-hmm.
sandblaster, which then clogs the nozzle.
Mm-hmm.
So I stopped doing that. And I mean, you can pull them off with hand or by hand or with a. I was using one of my pry bars actually to just kind of peel them off.
Gotcha.
It's just I have learned that this shape of carabiner is basically the worst possible shape for everything in terms of finishing because it's so hard to tumble and it's hard to sandblast. It's hard to powder coat. It's hard to remove the powder coat. It's just not a convenient shape. There's lots of little nooks and crannies, and the
Mm-hmm.
walls are so thin. So
That's
I don't know.
funny.
I'm just gonna have to sit there for another couple hours with the pry bar and peel off the all the ones that I had to rework, and then hope I do a better job of powder coating this time around.
Fair enough. There was something I was going to ask you. What was it? Um, oh, so in an effort to um, come up with something to keep our business going, we thought about doing another Kickstarter, and I wanted to talk to you about
Okay,
that. Um, Obviously, we're probably can't get anything out in time for the Make 100, and that's what we did last year. Um,
you have
and
a
I don't know
month.
if I, huh?
You have a month. Make 100s anytime in January.
Yeah,
I'm
but I don't know if I want to limit myself to 100 of something
You don't have to limit yourself to 100 or something. You just have to limit yourself to 100 of some edition of something. So, for example, with the tape measures, I'm going to have 100 of the like algorithmically generated ones that'll be
Mm-hmm,
more expensive, and then I'm
mm-hmm.
still going to sell the regular ones that we already have. The regular
Oh,
ones
okay.
will not be limited. The algorithmically generated ones will be limited.
Gotcha. Okay, that's a good point. But with that in mind, we've been trying to think of something to make, and something that I was thinking of was, and I think I have it over here. Where did I stick that? Excuse me as I rummage in my bag a second.
That's fine. Go ahead. So for people here, I'll talk for a second. While he's working on that, so my Kickstarter, I'm still aiming to launch in January as part of the Make 100 event. Originally, I was aiming to launch on the 1st, but considering I have like 3 weeks of work to do before that, that's not going to happen. So now I think I'm probably aiming at the 15th. That'll give me 2 weeks or so to get my act together, which I think is just barely enough time to get it all done.
So we have been engraving these utility blades with a Damascus pattern on them. And so I was thinking maybe we could make something, as I drop it, make something to hold them like a, and I know it's been done a bunch, the utility knife stuff. But one thing I was thinking of was we recently ripped the carpet out of one of the rooms because we were going to put vinyl flooring in it. Like a scraper instead of a utility knife, like a mini scraper. I don't know if that would be cool or not.
Potentially. I mean, Fidget Things has a kind of terrifying knife thing that's kind of in the form of a scraper. And those seem to sell pretty well, despite the fact that they're terrifying.
Yeah.
I wonder if I can go find one to show you. So, like, I mean, there's a market for everything.
Yeah. So I was thinking something along those lines. Honestly, I like how much stuff you do with laser cut material. And so that was another thing I was trying to think of. Something laser cut that we could, do some machining on. And then the last thing I was thinking on was like a pen of some sort. But those are very Kickstarter-y like items.
Yeah. The Suncut Send workflow is awesome. Okay,
it really is.
Here's his. I think this is the terrifying scraper thing. Oh, if it loads.
Gotta love internet.
No, that's not the one I'm talking about. Aha, here it is. I don't actually know if he sells these, but I got to play with the prototype at IMTS.
Oh, really?
I mean, it's about the smallest you can make a knife.
Yeah, because it just flips around. Because I saw that one a long time ago. Which now he's upgraded all of his machines to Haas machines. Yes. So he's probably getting a lot nicer quality out of them. Yeah, that's a really cool design.
Can you hear that audio? Is that just on my end?
That's just on your end.
Okay, it was very loud and distracting in my ears.
No worries.
But yeah, Fidget Things is doing pretty well on upgrading all his machines. I don't know if he still makes those or if he went in favor of his other design, but yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's a way to do it.
Yeah, just trying to come up with some different ideas of something, and I'd like it to be a little more open sourced. If I have anyone who's listening to this podcast, if you have any ideas of something that'd be cool to make, feel free to reach out to me. Because the first design that we did, it was something that I thought was cool, but I want to get more feedback before I make my next thing, and I want to try to get something that would be a little more popular, something that's a little lower dollar value, because those seem to sell a lot better, going for volume over price. So
not with everything,
no. But typically with a higher volume, with a higher dollar item, you need to spend more time R&D work on it. And we just don't have, quite frankly, we don't have the budget internally right now to invest into something like that right now. So.
What about a super minimalist pen?
Because we thought about doing that. Yeah, we've thought about doing that. I thought about doing something like a telescopic type pen that would extend out, because I've seen the miniature pens, which I really like, and I'd like to do one, but I want to do one that's like, an inch and a half long when it's compressed, but can go out to about 3 times that length.
Hmm.
Whenever it's fully extended, because like the mini pens are nice, but I've tried using them before and they're so small, you need something that's at least like 3 or 4 inches in length to actually write well with. So I want something that can collapse down to maybe an inch and a half long, but can extend out to about 4 inches in length or so.
Yeah, the traditional method of doing a pen like that is like the Fisher Space Pen, where you have basically the cap is the full length of the pen itself, and then when you post the cap on the end of the pen becomes long. But that only gives you a 1-to-1 expansion ratio.
Yeah, I want to try to get more than that. I want to try to get more than that. So, and I don't know if that would be like a double cap type deal where you take it apart twice. Yeah, cap on a cap, or if it's telescopic where they kind of fit into each other and then you like pull it out and it'll extend out longer.
Like a lightsaber, like a kid's lightsaber. That would be pretty cool. That sounds way harder to make, and
a lot higher tolerances, a lot more complications, but I think either one of those could be pretty cool.
You could do, but if you wanted to go just the simplest possible route, that would be for a what's called a 2-piece pen, or maybe a 3-piece pen, where you have a tip that threads onto a tube. Then you have the tube, which on the end of that there's threads and a knob, and you move the pen tip in and out by just threading that knob, or rotating the knob right and left. And that has a lot of downsides in terms of usability, because you might have to rotate it like 5 times, but it has upsides in the fact that you could knock one of those out in a day, prototyping wise, and they wouldn't be very expensive to make.
Yeah. I've thought about that, or I've even thought about one where it was done on a mill and you had segments that kind of folded in on themselves.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Like a knife that would unfold, but it could unfold both ways. So it had 2 arms that would unfold either way, and then that would give you your full length for writing.
Yeah, CW&T, I believe, has a pen that's kind of like that. What's their Instagram? Charlie Whiskey Tango? You're killing me, Instagram.
But there's a lot of different ideas out there. I need to do a better job of like market research to figure out what people would like. Like how do people do, like when you came up with your not for climbing carabiners, did you talk to anyone about that, or did you just come up with that idea, or like the frog pod stuff? How did those ideas come about? Was that something that he with the frog pod deal, I believe it was something that he wanted, and then you said he should do a Kickstarter campaign on it?
Yes.
But for your carabiners, your not for climbing carabiners, how did that come about? What was your process for that?
So that started because I shipped the not for climbing, or not the not for climbing, the parametric pry bars. And I had ordered titanium, just like cheap titanium carabiners from AliExpress to ship with those. And they never showed up. And then I ordered some more and they never showed up. And then I ordered some more and they never showed up. And so I was like, well, I guess I'm making these myself now. And so I made my own carabiners. People liked them. I made some more, and then I did a Kickstarter for them.
Gotcha. So, yeah, see, the most successful Kickstarters are things where people are like, man, I wanted to make this thing for myself, and everyone else liked it. I feel like. So
I think the reason for that is because it's a proven product before you go to Kickstarter. I think, and that's why I think developing products in the open is a good idea, because when you define, like, if you design 50 products in the confines of your own little secret laboratory and you choose one that you think is going to be good, there's a pretty good chance that you're wrong about which one was the best one. But if you design 50 products in the open and then 10,000 people choose which one they think is the best one, there's a pretty good chance that there's going to be a lot of people who want that.
Yeah.
That's basically my whole business philosophy right there in a nutshell.
Yeah, just get it out there in the open as much as possible. And sure, and see, the thing that's always been petrified me has been the fear of the knockoff, which is ironic because I know I peruse all the time trying to get inspiration from other people's designs. So I don't, it's one of those things where you want to get inspiration for people, but you don't want to directly knock someone else off.
Yeah.
So.
And which that in itself is probably a whole nother podcast episode.
Yeah.
I think the easiest way of avoiding knocking somebody else off on accident is by having a very strong style of yourself, your like having your own style. Like the Better Keychain stuff has it's not a complicated style, but like all of our stuff kind of looks the same except the orange slice. We do brown shapes with, big fillets, and it looks like and mostly air. And then it looks like a Better Keychains product. If we did a knife, it would probably look similar. If we did a different key ring, it would probably look similar.
So having a design philosophy that everything's based around.
Yes.
Because
then you can't accidentally steal somebody else's style.
Yeah. I guess that's something that we haven't really ever found because we haven't gotten that deep into it. I have to think about that. On a side note, we have started working on your orange slices, and they've been turning out great.
That's good because I'm basically out of everything at this point.
I'm very happy with how they're turning out. So we're just waiting for the stainless steel ones to arrive because of my ordering mishap.
Okay.
And then we should have them all.
So the stainless steel ones were the ones that weren't going to be milled, right?
No, it was the copper.
Are you sure?
Pretty sure.
Yeah, it's the stainless. Because the stainless looks like the titanium. There's an orange slice, everybody, by the way.
So are you telling me that I had it right and I should have just ordered the stainless?
I think you are right, but like I'm fine with it. Just send me whatever you're doing.
Okay.
So this is I will accept whatever you give me because I do not have formal POs and therefore I cannot go, hey, look at the PO I gave you. So
yeah,
that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm not going to send you screenshots of Instagram chats. I'm not that person.
Oh man, so. I feel bad then because I was like, I could have swore copper was the one that he wanted to. Nope. I'll have to go look. Yeah. Then that means I had it right, and I feel horrible.
I mean, it's fine. I'll use them all.
Yeah, we'll get you the fully machined ones. So, but anyways. I'm pretty happy with how they're turning out. I hit them all on the sander before I started machining them, and
to get rid of that little tab.
Mm-hmm. And also to machine the face of them a little bit, like sand the face of them, because when that laser's going, it leaves little nubs on one side versus the other. Which that side is obviously the side you want to machine first. That way, when you flip it over, it's not holding it up, so it's not that big of a deal. But I did find that by touching the face of them and having them removed first, it does seem to help it some for whatever reason.
Yeah, on my carabiners, when I was machining my carabiners, I tumbled them before machining. Like I did a little pre-tumble, and it was to get rid of those little burrs and stuff so they would sit flat in my fixture.
Didn't that help a lot?
It made a huge difference.
Yeah.
Especially with the resin work holding.
Now with yours, did you have all of your carabiners the same side facing up, or did you rotate them?
Yes.
Okay.
They due to the taper from the laser cutting, they would only fit in my fixture in one direction.
Okay.
And fortunately, Sencut Send was consistent about which orientation they cut them in, and they were all cut with the same taper, which is probably no guarantee in the future. But they did it this time, so
that's what matters. And I kind of feel like they go off of whatever 2D drawing you send. Like that's going to be the top side no matter what.
It depends on how they have their software set up. from my laser programming days, I know there's literally just a checkbox. And if you click that checkbox, it'll let you mirror it. And when you do that on some parts, it makes a big difference in how efficiently they nest.
That makes sense.
And sometimes it doesn't. But generally, and I don't know, this kind of goes back to how they're doing things. The way we were doing it and the software we were using, you could store basically a subroutine for your part, I guess would be the way to word it. You could program your part and then store that in a database. And then, let's say one day you were nesting the same parts onto a different program. You could pull in the exact same G code for that specific part, which you had already proven out. It would just be put with, other parts on the sheet.
Okay.
And I assume that's what they are doing. I assume every time you reorder, they aren't reprogramming it, though they could be. And that's another way that you can program laser stuff. But generally, it is more reliable if you're reusing that same subroutine for for every time you do a part.
That makes sense. What else? What's been your biggest takeaway this year for you?
Take more time on the design of the product and working out the process. And there might be some immediacy bias because, Kickstarter campaign. But I think if I had taken a lot more of that time up front, which admittedly I took all the time I had, like working a job plus trying to do design everything plus a family with 3 kids, like I used every single second of time that I had. But I would have, if I could go back and do it again in my current circumstances, I would have spent a lot longer on the design up front and on the machining processes just to make sure that they were more reliable going through, the whole process. But again, I did the best I could with the resources I had on hand. Now I have a lot more resources and next time will be better.
Yep. That's how it goes.
Gosh, this year felt like it was 10 years long and I'm having a hard time remembering past
everything that's happened.
Yeah, this year was such a blur. We moved into this house about a year ago, maybe almost exactly a year ago. And, the move was a major thing. The year started with the parametric pry bar, which I was making while we were moving. My mill was one of the very last things we moved because it was sitting in my garage, just like chomping out pry bars.
Did you have your 1100 MX at that point, or was it still your old one?
I did. Yes. My MX came and my MX came to the old house maybe a month before we moved.
Oh, okay.
So we got it in, we set it up, we ran the pry bars, we tore it down, we moved it.
Oh man.
It was this whole year has just been so hectic, in every possible way. My kids are probably also just about at the hardest stage that they're going to be in because let's see, at the beginning of the year we had a 5-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a newborn. And, even now with just a year having passed, like my kids are so much easier than they were.
Yeah. Well, I know that for us, we went literally from one machine in a corner of the shop to we've taken over the whole shop basically. So
yeah,
we've grown like crazy.
You have lathe, mill, laser. Is that your current inventory?
Lathe, mill, laser, 3D printers, and a Cerakote booth.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I do not miss the days of Cerakoting things in the in my driveway. Like my paint booth was walking out, like opening the garage door and walking out to the grass and just like holding the thing I was Cerakoting up. I do not miss those days.
Yeah, we actually have an actual Cerakote booth that my dad built us, which is really nice. So, I mean, it's small, but it does a lot for the Cerakote. Keeps it from getting blown around.
Yeah. Actually, a Christmas present that I have on the way from my dad is a new powder coating booth. The one I have now, I threw together, I think literally for under $100. It was like 8 2x4s and some plastic tarp
Mm-hmm.
and like a box fan that I already had on hand aiming out the window, which has worked fine. Like it's not a terrible powder coat booth, but sometime here shortly after the new year, we'll get, real walls and a better lighting setup and the whole thing. A door so the powder doesn't escape on you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. We have a lot of potential, a lot of stuff we want to do.
Same. It all just takes time and money.
It does. What's that? Growth eats cash for breakfast.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It also takes a lot of time.
It does.
Especially when you don't have... Well, if you had employees, you'd just be doing more, which would just take more time. So,
yeah. No, I'm extremely happy and extremely blessed, and I hope we can keep on a trucking. I wanna see this last another 10 years or more, at least.
Say only 10 years.
I said at least because I don't know. I mean, if I get a taste for this, I could start there's so many different tangents. I would love to get this business going and then start another business and start another business. Like I have fun with getting things going. Once they become so once they're running smooth, I feel like I could get bored, which at least that's been my experience with past jobs is that once I've mastered them, I get tired of doing them and I want something new. I think when you own your own business, it's probably a little bit different. There's probably new challenges that you're always having to deal with. So that might not be the case, but there's still other companies that are completely different from what I'm currently doing that I would love to do. And they build off each other. So it's like, if I could get this business running on its own smoothly, then I could start another business that would feed into this one and kind of have a synergistic relationship, I think is what I'm trying to say. And I think that'd be kind of cool. Some synergy.
I agree with everything you say. Right now, my dream would basically be to be able to build a business without like this constant, like, go, go, go. You need to rush, need to hurry everything. You need to get parts out now or you're going to go out of business. You're running out of money. Everything you spend, if you spend $1,000 on this thing, that's less time that you're going to have to finish building the business.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to just be able to build a business and like, have some other business, funding me to do so. Like, design everything self-sustaining. I'm able to walk away, build, business B and just focus on it for 6 months before, any product launch or anything. And that sounds nice.
Well, yeah. And see, as well as, like, I have learned so much in this first year that if I was going to start all over from scratch, I'd do things completely differently. Like being able to hit the reset button and start all over from scratch, I feel like I would do things completely differently. I do a lot of stuff the same, but I do some stuff completely different.
Like
for
what?
one, I feel like I would be knocking on a lot more doors, a lot more violently, and a lot more frequently, trying to get work in. It's one of those things where, and that's probably something I've struggled at some, is that especially on the job shop side, once a month at least, I need to be knocking on people's doors, being like, "Hey, do you got any parts you need machined? Hey, do you got any parts you need machined? Hey, you got any parts you need machined?" Like, I need to be doing more of that. And after the New Year's, sometime next week, I'm going to try to go around to all the businesses that we've done work with and stop in, say hi, and see if there's anything we can do for them.
Yep.
So,
if I had to restart, I would do, I think, less myself. I honestly don't think I would get, well, if we were doing this the smart way and not the fun way, I don't think I would get an 1100 MX. I think I would have a 440 and probably a nicer 3D printer, a nice resin printer, and maybe something like a Wazer, or I don't know, some sort of water jet,
Mm-hmm.
um, so that I could prototype things quickly, but not do the production myself.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense.
And
That's
I think I also focus more and not have a million side projects going on, because that is a problem.
yeah. I'm really good at getting stuff 80% of the way there.
Yeah.
That last 20% is always a struggle.
It's also 80% of the time.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's true. But I think that's about all I got for right now. It's been a great year, all things considered. I'm happy and I'm excited and I'm nervous. I think it's kind of my takeaway.
I honestly, at this point, I feel like I'm at a little bit of a low point in designing the everything. And again,
Mm-hmm.
it's looking at that math going, okay, I know how much runway I have. I know how much money design the everything's making.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's just it's not working out yet. And then
Mm-hmm.
also, like, I've been working for, 3 months on a Kickstarter that's already happened that I've already been paid for. So like, I'm still looking back on projects. I'm not looking, I'm not working forwards on the next one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I mean, it's all cyclic. Like, I'll be back at the
Yeah.
fun part soon, and
Yeah.
be exciting watching the
And
Kickstarter see the numbers go up. And
and hopefully if you can off outsource
outsource.
yeah, sorry, my words are not
Words are
working
hard.
properly. If you can outsource some of that, that'll hopefully help, where you can stay on task more and work on your next big Kickstarter and keep stuff going.
I'll start with my little Kickstarter. I need to do my little Kickstarter before I do my big Kickstarter,
Yeah.
which is
So
the tape
do you
measures.
have a couple Kickstarters lined up or planned out?
I have a couple things that I want to do in general. Honestly, which one I pick is not going to be decided basically until I start working on it. Just the way my brain works, it's
Mm-hmm.
what I'm excited for and what I have momentum on at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, for my next, hopefully big one. I do not expect this tape measure one to be big. I'm expecting an under 10K for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Probably in the 6K range. But it'll be a relatively quick and easy one. And if it's 6K in a month or two, like that's
That's not bad.
reasonable. I can live on
Yeah.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, I can live on that if it's a month, considering that if you assume half of that is profit. But
Mm-hmm.
um,
Sounds good.
I guess I don't always need to do $30,000 Kickstarters.
No, but if you're trying to space them out as much as you are, it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah,
So, because I think your goal was 4 a year, 5 a year.
for a year at 20K
Yeah.
average. So
Mm-hmm. So, well, that'll be good. And that doesn't include any of your additional sales that happened after the Kickstarters.
correct. The kind of the where those numbers came from is working backwards from $100,000 a year, and 4 Kickstarters times $20,000 is $80,000, and
Mm-hmm.
then $20,000 of regular sales.
Mm-hmm.
That's where my math comes from.
Yep. And your 20,000 will grow as you get more products out there. That's like,
Hopefully,
yeah. So with the hope being that if you do, let's just say you do 20,000 times 4 every year for the next 5 years. Hopefully, that last 20,000 will grow, by 10 to 20,000 more per year. So by year 5, your sales are more than your 4 Kickstarters on average.
correct.
Yeah,
Though all products have a life cycle, so
that's true.
no matter what it is, if you launch a product, it'll sell really well for a bit, and then it'll slowly taper down. And sometimes they taper to nothing. Sometimes they do have a steady state. Um, like Dove soap, I think is one of the longest running products in the U.S. And I mean,
Yeah.
obviously they're still selling some, but
Mm-hmm.
other products they taper off.
That's true. They do.
But I don't really know what that product life cycle is going to look like. Is it going to be 5 years? Is it going to be 10 years? Are all of mine going to have residual sales, or none of them going to have residual sales?
Mm-hmm.
The carabiners have been moving.
Oh, good. I was going to ask, have they been selling on Etsy?
Yeah. So let's see they were live on Etsy for under 15 days, and I sold, I don't know, at least $300 of them.
That's awesome.
Which means that would hit my goal of having products that are selling. I want to. What was my goal? I'm looking at my board. 5 in 2023. I want 5 new products that sell at least $500 a month on Etsy. And so that should be like the first. Like, as long as those sales keep up, that should be meeting, one of those products for that goal.
That's awesome.
So hopefully they keep up. I think the key rings are also going to do well. I've sold a couple of those. I used to sell a bunch of titanium key rings back when I was just importing them from China.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing that mine are so different than normal key rings, but we'll see.
I really like them because I got one with my keychain.
Did you?
Yeah. I really like it. Which, does that laser cut that middle slot? And that's just how they come?
Yep.
That's impressive. That's super impressive.
For those of you that don't know, these key rings are they're laser cut, and they're not, round. Oh, that's primary color. That shouldn't say primary color. They're not round like a normal key ring. They're ob round, which means they take up less space on your key ring, and then also they're easier to get keys on and off of. It's almost like a tiny carabiner.
Yeah, they're awesome. I really liked it. I thought they were sweet.
Yeah, that's the sleeper product I have right now. Like, nobody knows or really understands that they're an improvement until they get one. And once they get one, they're like, "Oh, this is way better than a normal keyring."
Mm-hmm. I like it a lot. I'm really happy with that. That was something that kind of caught me off guard with how good it was. So
hopefully I can find more things like that in the future.
Yeah. That's kind of the thing, is it all goes back to the products that you spend the least amount of time on generate you the most, typically. Yes. It's so annoying.
Not that like the key rings are ever going to be I'd have to sell a lot of key rings to make a living.
True. But I bet that took you 5 minutes to draw up, and then to turn out as well as it did. I mean, I bet the amount of effort in that versus your carabiners.
Compared to the carabiners, yes. There is more work that goes into a keyring than you would think. So, really? Yes, the initial model in Fusion was 2 minutes or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I knew that I was going to be tinkering with those, and so I made it parametric. And we went through about 3 revisions with SendCut Send. And then also it went out to all of my prototype of the month backers to get feedback. And I believe it was like revision D, basically, that made it to the Kickstarter. So they're simple, but there's probably a couple $100 of laser cut parts there, and design time and feedback from my beta testers.
Which, speaking of which, how does that feedback work? When they get it, do they have like an online survey they fill out, or do they just message you? Like, how does the feedback work?
I have tried a number of methods with them. The original plan was I was going to do a video for everybody and then have a survey that they could fill out. That failed miserably. There was like 3 people that watched my video that I made them. Because I can see the analytics, guys. And...
calling them out.
Yeah, and so nobody was watching those videos, and so I tried doing a survey, and what I eventually just Discord became the best way of doing it, and so we just talk about it in my Design the Everything Discord. And much like the sticker of the month club, I now write a prototype of the month club letter that goes in the prototype of the month club, because I knew nobody was reading the posts I was doing on Patreon. So this way they have no choice but to see my letter because it shows up with their product.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes like it, I want people to understand the things that I'm specifically looking for on the prototype of the month. Like how does like the on the tape measures, like how is this going to hold up over time? The durability, how like that was one of the things I was wondering about. And so I was able to write that in the letter. And I can also say things like, I know this is terrible, you know, like if like my original version of the lanyard, the elastic that I had on it was awful. And I was able to write like, I know this elastic is terrible. It's all I was able to get on short notice. But, you know, how's the overall everything else? Just ignore that. That doesn't exist. Just focus on the rest of the design.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm able to say things like that in the letter. And I know that people will read it this time.
So do you include that letter whenever you ship them out?
Yes, with the well, I've only done this 1 month now, but the letters. But yes, the letter will go in the package with the prototype, so they have to see it.
Yeah, can't get away from it.
Yeah,
it's not a link. That's funny. And that do you have people that'll respond to you on Discord after reading that?
Yes. So on Discord, they'll see it, they'll look at it, they'll send me a message. Sometimes I get like out of band messages, like people send me a message on Instagram or whatever, if that's just the platform we normally interact on.
That's good.
Yeah.
Nice. I think that's all I got right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I need to make a bunch of videos coming up. I have a couple that are in the editing queue right now, which I probably should touch base with Scott about. I have a couple I want to record. I want to record a video about handling unhappy customers.
Ooh,
because for the first time ever, I've had unhappy comments on a Kickstarter campaign.
Really?
Yes.
I won't say I had unhappy customers, but I've had two. We've typically gotten 5-star reviews on everything that we've done on Etsy, and I got 2 4-star reviews recently on 2 different products, and it was from
for
people
valid reasons or for invalid reasons.
Well, one of them was for a dice case where a gentleman did not read our comment that said that these were for 16 millimeter dice, and he got it for 20 millimeter dice. Was like, it wouldn't fit my 20 millimeter dice. I had to put 16 millimeter dice in it. And it's like, okay, it's like it's in the description. Like, we should probably put it in the title.
That needs to be in the title, yeah.
But it is in the description. And then so that's a valid criticism. And then the other one was the 3D printed gun stands.
Mm-hmm.
The guy was like, "Oh, they're too light," but I haven't heard anyone that said that any of them have broke.
Yes.
Or anything. So, plus, if I tried to do them as solid 3D prints, they'd be a lot more expensive. So,
that complaint right there is basically the complaints I've been getting on the Kickstarter. Is people get the carabiners and they go, "Oh, these can't possibly be secure." And to be fair, like these carabiners were designed to be lightweight. They were never designed to be particularly sturdy.
yes.
Which is something that I understood. I think it's something that most people understood, but it wasn't communicated like super clearly, except where I called it the not for climbing carabiner. I thought that was kind of me trying to poke at that. But there have been now 3 different people. 2 people have asked specifically for a return, which I have given them. The third person, they like right before we started, just left me a comment, and I haven't gone around to it. They didn't ask for a return. I'll see if they want one or not. But in all 3 cases, they got it, and they're like, "This feels really wimpy, and it feels like it won't hold my keys securely." Which has never been a problem with our beta testers. So like it was never really something I was worried about, but like I understand how you could pick it up and be like, I'm not going to trust my keys on that. And that's a communication problem on my end, setting expectations.
So here's a question for you. And I thought about this when I got it. This is probably my only criticism of it, and I understand why you did it this way. you have it as a laser cut profile all the way around, and then you're only adding the slots.
Mm-hmm.
Could you go in there with a side cutter and cut a groove where they cannot flop past each other?
I
You'd have to.
tried.
You did? Okay.
So there is a
I think.
unreleased Design the Everything video on this.
Okay.
Actually unedited because there wasn't really enough content there for a video. I tried for a couple days to get a design that worked. And I just couldn't get anything I was happy with going off of the laser cut parts.
Okay. I wondered about that.
So it basically if I was going to make it laterally stable like that, it goes from being a $30 carabiner to like a $90 carabiner. And I don't think that's enough of an improvement to justify it. So like it wasn't an accident. Like this was an intentional design trade-off that I made. Whether that was the right choice or the wrong choice is to be, decided by the public, not me. But less than 1% of the people complaining, I think, is fine. Like it was a communication issue, not a design issue.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, I know there's a completely valid reason as to probably why you did it that way. But I say that's probably the only thing that I could see out of it that I could see. Like my wife picked it up and she was like, but it's not stabilized side to side. I'm like, it's part of the process. Like that's how it's designed. I said, but I mean, it's a valid criticism, but it's also one that I completely understand why it was done that way.
Yeah. I've never had issues with keys falling off of it. I've heard from one of our testers that if they kept it in their pocket, it could pop open. But they didn't lose keys off of it. And everyone else has, told me that it's fine. I wouldn't use it for climbing. I wouldn't use it for camping. It's not that kind of carabiner, but
yeah, for everything that I've used it for, it's been fine. So
I wonder if I had just not called it a carabiner, if that would have managed expectations better. If I had called it like a key ring, would people have?
No, I think carabiner grabs people's attention more.
That's true. It is a carabiner.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think you did a good job. I think you're managing expectations well. And I didn't know you had tried that, but I kind of figured you had. So, but no, I'm happy with it. I really like it. And it was so light. That's probably the number one response I get whenever I show people it. Because I've showed a lot of people it. I'm like, look at this carabiner that my friend made. And they're like, oh, wow, that's so cool. It's so light. And I'm like, yeah, I know. It's crazy light. I'm like, it's titanium. They're like, whoa.
Well, one of the dirty secrets of product design is people don't really like lightweight things unless they're shoes. When you hand something to somebody, like the heavy feeling conveys quality, even if it's a inferior, even if it's in reality inferior to have something heavy. Like when they feel that it's heavy, they're like, wow, this is stout. This is good old quality American metal. And I think having the carabiner that weighs, it's like 7 grams without powder coating. I've never actually measured one with powder coating, but it's 7 grams without powder coating, which is light enough that a balloon can carry it off. And I think for people who are used to big heavy metal monstrosities on their keychain, when they get that little 7-gram piece of titanium, which is like 90% air, it's a little bit disconcerting to them.
Yeah. This one isn't rated for 20,000 newtons of pull force. No, it is not.
No. Yeah, you can do 20 on my carabiners, but even then, be careful.
Not for climbing.
Yeah. Did you see my Instagram story of the really, really not for climbing carabiner? I tried a 3D print one, but it was basically pure noodle.
That's hilarious.
It worked. It was functional, but the pressure on it was so incredibly light that it wasn't good. My my theory behind doing that, and the reason I test printed it, is because I wanted to put the design up on printables and be like, here, you can 3D print a plastic one, but if you want a metal one, here's a link to my store. But I didn't have the motivation to redesign it for plastic.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
So maybe someday in the future.
Maybe someday. And I'd like to do some more 3D printed products as well at some point. Those are just simple, easy. We've sold over $10,000 worth of 3D printed plastic so far.
That's crazy.
So, yeah. So, like, if I could get more products, it's something that just kind of runs continuous in the background. It's got to be the right product. You can't 3D print everything, but for some stuff, if you can do it, it does well.
Yeah, I could see it being easy to get overwhelmed by volume, just because like it's a slow process. So, like, if you could easily go. Like, okay, with my carabiners or whatever, my normal Etsy products, it's easy to go a week without selling something, and then all of a sudden you sell 5 of them. And when you're like machining stuff, like it's, you can machine 5 in 45 minutes or whatever, or an hour. But with 3D printing, then it's like, oh, that's 5 days of printing all of a sudden.
Yeah.
But the plus side is, as long as that doesn't happen, like, hit button, receive product. Once it's designed and you've done all the harder setup work.
Yeah. There's a guy, and I don't remember his name. He does 3D printed Nerf guns. He's got
No Lost Darts or something like that.
Out of Darts.
Out of Darts.
Yeah. Like, that's kind of, I really have watched a lot of his stuff, and I love how he does everything 3D printed. I think he's got a 3D print farm of like 100 or 200 printers now.
Holy cow.
Going like continuously. Yeah.
Okay, at that point, you just need to invest in injection molding. But
I don't know. I mean, he's selling a lot of them out of 3D printed stuff. So it gives him the ability to iterate and change. And,
that's true.
And
okay, that's when you buy one of the powder printers.
Yeah.
The laser ones, but yeah.
I would love to get a desktop injection mold machine. I think that'd be a ton of fun.
Same. My FrogPod friend Tom, he was given one on a semi-permanent loan from Jimmy DiResta, and I'm super jealous of him.
Oh, really?
I would love to play with one. Yeah.
I don't know what DiResta gave him one?
Yes, on a semi-permanent loan. Yeah. Of course he's friends with Jimmy. Tom's friends with everybody.
Oh my goodness. That's cool. I need to get out and meet these people.
Yeah.
More. I'm stuck in a hole in Arkansas.
I mean, to be fair, all of us are stuck in weird places, and, there's not like one place where everybody is.
That's true.
You just have to go to meetups and stuff.
Yeah.
Not that I go to the maker ones. I really just go to like IMTS and.
Yeah, which I really wanted to go to, but didn't make it out this year. So it'll be 2 years from now. I should hopefully be able to make it.
2023, I guess, is the next one.
Oh, is it every year?
Oh, 2020. I thought this was already next year, and I thought last year was 2021. So never mind. I'm tired. I'm tired and sick and bad at math. I also thought Monday was Christmas. So
yeah. On that note, do you have anything else to add before we wrap up?
No. I think I need to go to bed.
Yeah. We both have been a little sick these past few days. So for those of you who have listened to us in our tired, sickly states,
we're
thanks
sorry.
for listening to it. Yeah, sorry we had to endure that. Thanks for listening to us. Please share and tell all your friends about us as our podcast group continues to grow. And check in with us next week where we have a special podcast coming
up.
I
I forgot. We do have a special podcast.
Yeah.
Which is part of the reasons why I thought Monday was Christmas.
Yes. So
James.
Next week will be a special one. And so don't miss it. And we'll see. This is Harrison with Precision Ingenuity, and here with AJ from Design the Everything, signing out.
Bye.
Bye.